Ever wondered how to make the perfect steak frites at home? Well, you've come to the right place. This beloved dish, with origins deeply rooted in French cuisine, is a delectable combination of juicy steak and crispy fries. The cooking process, while seeming complex, is surprisingly simple once you get the hang of it. It's all about the right ingredients, perfect timing, and a dash of love. So tie up your apron, sharpen your knives, and get your skillet ready. Get ready to bring a touch of Paris to your kitchen. Before you start, gather all the necessary ingredients. To create an exquisite steak frites, you'll need a selection of quality components. For the steak, opt for a juicy piece of ribeye or sirloin, depending on your preference. Now let's talk about potatoes, the frites part of our steak frites. A couple of large russet potatoes will do the trick, but feel free to experiment with other varieties. Next up, oil. A high smoke point oil like canola is ideal, but olive oil or butter can add a unique flavor twist. Seasonings are the soul of any dish. A blend of salt, pepper, and your choice of fresh herbs will elevate the flavor profile. Don't forget the sauces or garnishes. A dollop of creamy béarnaise sauce, a sprinkle of fresh parsley, or a squeeze of lemon juice can take your steak frites to a whole new level. With everything in place, you're set to start cooking. The star of the show is, of course, the steak. Choosing the right cut is crucial. For steak frites, you'd want something richly flavored, yet tender. A ribeye or a strip steak are ideal. They have good marbling, which means they're interlaced with thin threads of fat that melt as the steak cooks, naturally basting it and imparting a mouth-watering flavor. Once you've got your steak, it's time to prepare it. But before we start, remember that your steak should be at room temperature, so if it's been in the fridge, let it sit out for about 30 minutes to an hour. This ensures even cooking. First, we're going to trim off any excess fat. Don't be too eager with this step, though. A little bit of fat is good for flavor, but too much can cause flare-ups when you're cooking. Next, it's time to season. For a steak like this, you don't need much. A generous sprinkle of sea salt and freshly ground black pepper on both sides will do. The salt not only seasons the meat, but also helps to form that irresistible crust when it hits the hot pan. If you're feeling adventurous, you can make a simple marinade. Mix together some olive oil, minced garlic, fresh rosemary, and a squeeze of lemon. Then, coat your steak with this mixture and let it marinate for at least an hour. The acid in the lemon juice will help tenderize the meat, while the garlic and rosemary add layers of flavor. After your steak has been seasoned or marinated, let it rest for a few minutes. This allows the seasoning to penetrate the meat, and if you've marinated it, it gives the acids time to work their magic. While your steak is resting, you can start preheating your skillet. You'll want it scorching hot to sear the steak properly, locking in all those delicious juices. Once your steak is ready, it's time to move on to the potatoes. Now, let's turn our attention to the frites. Our journey to perfect frites begins with selecting the ideal potato. Russet or Maris Piper potatoes are the preferred choice due to their high starch content, which results in a perfectly crispy exterior and fluffy interior. First, we peel our potatoes. Hold the potato firmly and draw the peeler from one end to the other, making sure to remove all the skin. Remember, it's the details that make or break a dish. Once you've peeled all your potatoes, it's time for the next step. Cutting the potatoes into frites requires consistency. We're aiming for frites that are approximately 1/4 inch thick and 3 inches long. This size ensures an ideal ratio of crispy exterior to fluffy interior. To achieve this, slice your potato lengthwise, then cut each slice into even sticks. Remember, uniformity is key, as it ensures even cooking. Now that our potatoes are cut, it's time to pre-cook them. We're not frying them just yet. This is a crucial step known as blanching. Blanching the frites helps to remove excess starch, which will make them extra crispy when we fry them later. So fill a pot with cold water, add a pinch of salt, and bring it to a boil. Once boiling, add your frites and let them cook for about 5 minutes. They should be tender but not fully cooked. After the frites have blanched, drain them and spread them out on a clean kitchen towel. This step allows the frites to dry, which is crucial for achieving a crispy texture when we fry them. Let them cool and dry for about half an hour before moving on to the next step. With these steps completed, you've successfully prepared your frites for the main cooking process. Patience is key when preparing frites, but your effort will be rewarded with a perfect side dish for your steak. With your frites prepared, you're ready for the main cooking. Now it's time to cook the steak to perfection. But before we get to the fun part, let's talk about the pan. A good quality heavy-bottomed pan is your best friend here, as it will distribute heat evenly and help create that gorgeous crust we're after. A cast iron skillet is a popular choice, but a stainless steel pan will do the job just fine too. Once you've chosen your pan, it's time to heat it up. Place your pan on the stove and crank up the heat to high. Let it get smoking hot, and I mean literally smoking. This high heat is what will allow us to sear the steak and lock in those juicy flavors. When the pan is ready, carefully lay your steak in it. As soon as the steak hits the pan, it should sizzle loudly. That's the sound of deliciousness in the making. Now resist the urge to move the steak around. Let it sit and sear for about 2 to 3 minutes. This will create a beautiful caramelized crust. Now flip the steak and let it sear on the other side. While it's cooking, spoon some of that hot, melted butter over the steak. This will help to cook it evenly and add a luxurious richness to the meat. After about 2 to 3 minutes on the second side, it's time to check for doneness. For a medium rare steak, you're looking for an internal temperature of about 135 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a meat thermometer, you can use the touch test. Press the center of the steak with your finger. If it springs back quickly, it's done. Once your steak is cooked to your liking, remove it from the pan and let it rest for about 5 minutes. Resting allows the juices to redistribute throughout the steak, making it even more flavorful and succulent. With your steak cooked and resting, it's time to finish up the frites. The final step is to give your frites that crispy, golden finish. Begin by heating your oil in a deep fryer or a heavy-bottomed pot until it reaches a temperature of around 375 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the ideal temperature for achieving that perfect crunch and color without burning your frites. While the oil is heating, make sure your frites are dry. Excess moisture can cause the oil to splatter, which can be dangerous. Once the oil is hot and your frites are dry, carefully lower a handful of frites into the oil. Don't overcrowd the pot, the frites need space to cook evenly. The frying process should take about 5 minutes, but keep an eye on your frites. They should turn a beautiful golden brown color. Once they've achieved this, use a slotted spoon to remove the frites from the oil and transfer them to a paper towel-lined plate. This will help to drain any excess oil. While the frites are still hot, sprinkle them with a bit of sea salt. The heat will help the salt to stick to the frites, giving them an irresistible flavor. If you're feeling adventurous, you could also add some herbs or spices for an extra kick. Now that your frites are ready, it's time to plate up and enjoy. Now the moment you've been waiting for, serving your steak frites. As we move on to the grand finale, we'll start with plating. Place the juicy steak right in the middle of your plate, letting it be the star of the show. Nestle those golden, crispy frites right next to the steak. They're the perfect supporting actor in this delicious drama. Now for a little extra flair, sprinkle a handful of fresh chopped parsley over the dish. This not only adds a pop of color, but also brings a fresh, herby twist to the flavors. And what's steak without a good sauce, right? A classic choice would be a silky, rich peppercorn sauce. Pour it over the steak or serve it on the side. The choice is yours. For a beverage to complement this hearty meal, a full-bodied red wine like a Cabernet Sauvignon would be a great choice. There you have it, a perfect steak frites made right in your own kitchen. Bringing French cuisine into your home kitchen doesn't have to be a daunting task. We've journeyed through the process of crafting our own steak frites. From unveiling our ingredients, preparing the steak and frites, to cooking and finally serving. Each step is a testament to the love we pour into our food. So why not give it a try yourself? Remember, the joy of cooking is in the journey, not just the destination. Bon appétit! Until next time, happy cooking!